The world can be an incredibly loud place, and it can be really difficult to find a moment of inner peace. Especially these days, there is a cultural emphasis on being constantly stimulated between the crazy news cycle and our constant digital connections online. There's always something to point your face at, and even when offline, it can be difficult to keep the mind from churning. Over the past years especially, it's easy to fall into the trap of being anxious about the state of the world or the state of one's life. This problem compounds when these thoughts become intrusive to the point of disrupting one's ability to be present. Although these problems seem to have come to a fever pitch in our modern context, they have been mulled over for thousands of years, as have our techniques for coping with them. Today, I want to talk to you about the practice of meditation and pitch to you how taking as little as 5 minutes out of your day to focus on your breath can lead to clearer thoughts, a more refined sense of self, and improvement in your view of the agency you may have in affecting your life. I will discuss a bit of the history of meditation, some benefits one might see from participating in it, a bit of my personal experience with getting started, what I've noticed change in myself over time, and the basics of how to get started on your own. While meditation began its life as a spiritual practice, it can also be used in more secular contexts, and the benefits of it are not limited to those who believe in a certain faith or come from a particular cultural background. When I outline the history of the practice, I do so to highlight the longevity of its cultural roots and demonstrate how it has evolved over time. Meditation had its conceptual birthplace in northern India and has long-standing cultural roots in both Hindu and Buddhist traditions. The essential practice was developed as a technique to further one's connection to oneself, others, and the world, despite the presence, and it's sometimes the predominance, of suffering. The practice has been migrating transnationally for 2,500 years. Buddhism has developed many schools and approaches, all loosely tied to foundational theoretical frameworks. Meditation's presence in the Western world gained momentum in the first half of the 20th century, bringing Buddhist knowledge and meditation to many Westerners for the first time. With this migration, the psychological applications of practices that used to be exclusive to the domain of religion became more clear. Today, psychologists and physicians have recognized the benefits of mind-body practice for the treatment and prevention of disease. Through a fairly regular practice of meditation, one can experience having more control over their thoughts. One can also find themselves being more mindful of their actions and having more of a direct say in their emotional reactions to the events of everyday life. The experience of these effects is most strongly felt directly after the practice of meditation, but with a mild amount of repetition, one can begin to see these new relationships to their thoughts, emotions, and ultimately their actions be built in as more of a natural part of daily life. When I was first pitched the idea of beginning a meditation routine, I was told about a mixture of the potential effects that such a practice can have. Frankly, I thought they were bullshit. As someone whose mind was constantly racing, the thought of being able to silence the mind long enough to meditate seemed like a near impossible task. I was recommended a few years ago to start by giving meditation apps a try. I won't name the specific apps I tried, but they were ones I saw advertised on YouTube videos. With basically no guidance on how to even get started with meditating effectively, I was at the mercy of these apps to show me how it was done. I began a free trial of one of the more popular apps and was instructed by the app to take 10 to 15 minutes every day to listen to their curated guided meditations. I found a comfortable place to slouch over on the couch or sometimes lay down in bed and began listening to these guided meditations. The speaker would go on for long stretches of time talking about the listener getting relaxed. It felt like a command I couldn't fulfill. The more they talked about relaxing, the more tense I got with the realization that it wasn't happening for me at all. Frustratedly, I would listen to the entirety of the recorded session, waiting for the magic to work. Meanwhile, it felt deeply condescending, as though someone was trying to relax me using platitudes about how important it is to take time out of my day to relax. I went on like this for about a week, and never really felt any more relaxed or at peace than when I began. In fact, I was frustrated that it wasn't working for me. It felt like some important part of my brain was broken. Because of this experience, I wrote off meditation for years to come. I simply decided it wasn't for me. I share these early frustrations not to discourage you. I wanted to be honest about my experience in this video to show that some approaches to meditation can miss the simple core of the process, and can end up being schemes to sink money into apps that ultimately don't cultivate the kind of mindfulness and sense of peace one would be looking for in starting a meditation practice. Luckily, I've since learned the core of what constitutes a good, simple meditative practice, and here's the good news. It's completely free and is much simpler than others might tell you. Years after my initial attempt at meditating, I started expressing the idea that I wanted to learn how to simply be. Luckily, a trusted contact and experienced meditator was there to point me in the right direction. I was told to check out the book Meditation for the Fidgety Skeptic. I found the audiobook on YouTube for free. I was curious enough to give it a listen while taking walks. The book details the author's personal experience with traveling the country as an advocate for the benefits of meditation. Sprinkled throughout the book are the basics of how to start meditating, which was the most useful part of the book for me and what I will share here. Starting a meditative practice is actually fairly simple. You can take as little as 5 minutes, or even 1 minute if it's all you can muster, to attempt to clear your mind. Find a place where you can sit with your back straight. Place your hands on your knees or by your side, palm up. Begin by closing your eyes, or if you need to, keep them open with a soft gaze towards the floor. Begin to focus on your breath, following it in and out. It's much easier to pick something like your breathing to focus on rather than undergoing the basically impossible task of trying to think of nothing. As you focus on your breath, you may find that some thoughts creep in. When this happens, simply acknowledge them by repeating the word thinking to yourself in your mind. It serves as a gentle reminder that it's okay for the mind to wander. It's a natural phenomenon and not something to beat yourself up about. After repeating thinking, gently bring yourself back to the breath. This may happen many times while meditating, but with time, the process of bringing yourself back will become easier. While one can do this practice without any technological assistance, it can help a lot when starting out on a practice of meditation to use some ambient sounds to help block out distracting noises around you. For this end, it is recommended to use what is known as binaural beats. Some make outlandish claims that binaural beats have magical properties to transform the mind. In reality, these simple tracks help occupy the mind while not being something you need to focus on at all. A wide range of these tracks can be found on YouTube for free by searching binaural beats. I personally like to use the search term binaural beats meditation. These videos generally run about an hour, but you can use them for as long as you're comfortable. In addition to this video, I've uploaded a much shorter binaural beats video for you to use when starting out. I'll link it in the description of this video as well. As you get more comfortable with the process of meditating, there are techniques which can help you go deeper. My current plan is to make another video on some more in-depth techniques for people who have some experience with meditating. Feel free to leave any questions you may have about the process in the comments of this video, and I'll do my best to address them in a future video. I hope you find this pitch useful on your path to seeking a greater inner peace. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe for future content in this similar vein. Have a great day.